Good morning, friends. I want to talk to you today about something we all face. Pressure. Pressure to succeed, pressure to perform, pressure to be the best. But can I tell you something? Pressure is not your enemy. Pressure is a sign that you're on the verge of something great. If you look at how diamonds are made, they don't form in easy, comfortable conditions. They are created deep underground under extreme pressure. Without that pressure, they would remain ordinary carbon. The same is true for us. The challenges you're facing right now, the tough exams, the career struggles, the personal battles, are not there to destroy you. They are there to refine you, to strengthen you, and to bring out the greatness inside of you. Now, I know pressure can be uncomfortable. It's easy to feel like giving up. But let me encourage you. Don't let pressure break you. Let it build you. When you feel overwhelmed, that's not the time to step back. That's the time to step up. Look at David before he became king. He didn't start in a palace. He started in the fields, tending sheep. And when Goliath stood before him, the pressure was intense. The entire nation was watching, and the odds were stacked against him. But David didn't run. He didn't let fear stop him. Instead, he faced the pressure head-on and used it as an opportunity to grow. And that moment of pressure led him to his greatest victory. Friends, the pressure you're feeling today might be the very thing that leads you to your breakthrough. The stress of exams, it's preparing you for future success. The challenges at work, they're building your character and your leadership. God never wastes pressure. He uses it to push us into our destiny. So instead of seeing pressure as a problem, see it as a gift. The next time you feel stressed, don't say, "Why is this happening to me?" Say, "This is making me stronger. This is preparing me for my future." Stay focused, keep pushing forward, and trust that God is working all things for your good. Your best days are still ahead. Keep pressing on, keep believing, and you will see progress, even under pressure. Just like diamonds are formed under immense pressure, our greatest strengths are developed in the most challenging times. If you take a piece of coal and leave it in a comfortable, ordinary environment, it will always remain coal. But when that same piece of coal is placed under intense heat and pressure over time, it transforms into a diamond, something valuable, strong, and unbreakable. The same principle applies to our lives. The pressure we face is not meant to break us. It is meant to refine us, strengthen us, and push us to new levels of success. Think about athletes who train for competition. The greatest champions don't just wake up one day and find themselves at the top. They endure grueling workouts, push past their limits, and face intense pressure in both practice and competition. It's not the easy moments that shape them. It's the moments when they feel like quitting, but choose to keep going. That pressure builds their endurance, their discipline, and their confidence. Without it, they would never reach their full potential. The same is true in academics. Imagine a student preparing for an important exam. If they only studied when they felt comfortable, they would never grow. But when they push themselves to stay up late, to learn difficult concepts, to practice over and over again, even when they feel exhausted, that pressure builds their intelligence, their problem-solving skills, and their resilience. Later in life, when they face even greater challenges, they will be able to handle them because they have already been strengthened by the pressure of learning and growth. History is full of stories of people who became great, not in times of ease, but in times of hardship. Think about Thomas Edison. He didn't invent the light bulb on his first try. He failed thousands of times before he succeeded. The pressure of failure didn't discourage him, it pushed him forward. Each setback made him more determined, more creative, and more resilient. Because of that pressure, he didn't just create a light bulb, he lit up the world. Even in our personal lives, pressure builds strength. There are moments when life feels overwhelming, when we face difficulties in relationships, finances, or health. It's easy to think, why is this happening to me? But in those moments, we have a choice. We can let the pressure crush us, or we can use it as a tool to grow. The challenges we face today are preparing us for the victories of tomorrow. The key is to change our perspective. Instead of seeing pressure as something negative, we must see it as an opportunity for growth. When we embrace challenges and refuse to give up, we come out stronger, wiser, and better prepared for the future. So when life puts you under pressure, don't break, rise. Know that every struggle is shaping you into the person you were meant to be. You are stronger than you think, and the pressure you are facing today is producing the strength you will need for tomorrow. When pressure comes, it often brings fear along with it. The fear of failure, the fear of not being enough, the fear of disappointing others. It's easy to feel overwhelmed when things don't go as planned or when the weight of responsibility feels too heavy. But in those moments, we have a choice. We can give in to fear or we can stand in faith. Faith is not about ignoring reality. It's about choosing to believe that something greater is at work even when we can't see it yet. Imagine a student preparing for a major exam. They may feel the pressure building, the anxiety creeping in. Thoughts of self-doubt might whisper, "What if I don't pass? What if I'm not good enough?" But fear is just a distraction. Instead of letting it take over, they can choose to have faith. Faith says, "I have prepared, I have worked hard, and I trust that I have what it takes." Faith allows them to focus, to push past the anxiety, and to step into the moment with confidence. The pressure is still there, but faith turns that pressure into a driving force rather than a stopping point. Throughout history, some of the greatest achievements were made by people who chose faith over fear. Think of the Wright brothers. The fear of failure could have kept them from even trying to build an airplane. The pressure of public doubt, the risk of crashing, the fear of ridicule, it was all very real. But they believed in something bigger. Their faith and their vision gave them the strength to keep going, even after multiple failures. Because they chose faith, they changed the way we travel forever. Fear has a way of magnifying problems. It makes obstacles seem bigger than they are. But faith shifts our focus. Instead of focusing on the difficulty, faith reminds us of our potential. It tells us that setbacks are temporary, that failure is just part of the journey, and that every challenge is an opportunity for growth. Pressure is not the enemy. It's the test that proves how strong we really are. Consider the story of David and Goliath. When the giant stood before the Israelite army, fear overtook them. The pressure of the moment paralyzed them. But David, a young shepherd, saw things differently. He didn't let fear control him. Instead, he had faith that he could overcome, even against impossible odds. His faith gave him the courage to step forward when everyone else stepped back. And in the end, his faith led him to victory. In life, pressure will always be present. Fear will try to creep in. But we don't have to let it win. We can choose faith. We can choose to believe that we are capable, that we are strong, and that the pressure we face is simply preparing us for something greater. When faith takes the lead, fear loses its power, and we step into a future that is filled with possibility, strength, and success. Growth is not something that happens when everything is easy and comfortable. It happens in moments of challenge, in seasons of struggle, in times when the pressure is high and the road ahead seems uncertain. If everything in life came easily, there would be no reason to stretch beyond our limits, no need to develop resilience, and no opportunity to discover the strength we never knew we had. The truth is, progress is made not in times of comfort, but in times of adversity. Think about how muscles grow. If you never challenge them, if you never put them under resistance, they will remain weak and undeveloped. But when you lift weights, when you push your body beyond what feels comfortable, the muscles break down and rebuild stronger than before. The process is not always pleasant. There is discomfort, soreness, and fatigue. But in that struggle, real growth is taking place. The same principle applies to every area of life. Without adversity, we remain the same. But when we face challenges, when we are put under pressure, we develop perseverance, endurance, and wisdom that we would never gain in easy times. Consider the story of Thomas Edison. When he was inventing the light bulb, he didn't succeed on his first try. In fact, he failed thousands of times before he finally got it right. Imagine if he had given up after the first failure. What if he had said, "This is too difficult," or "Maybe I'm not meant to do this"? We would be living in a very different world today. But Edison saw failure as a part of growth. Every time he faced adversity, he learned something new. He took each setback as a stepping stone to progress. Because he embraced the struggle, he was able to achieve something groundbreaking. In education, students who face challenges often grow the most. When a student struggles with a difficult subject, they have a choice. They can either give up and say, "I'm just not good at this," or they can push through, ask questions, and seek solutions. The students who embrace the struggle, who keep going despite the difficulty, not only master the subject, but also develop critical thinking skills, patience, and determination. Those lessons extend far beyond the classroom and prepare them for success in life. Nature also teaches us this lesson. When a seed is planted, it doesn't grow in perfect conditions. It must break through the soil, push against the dirt, and endure harsh weather. But through that struggle, it becomes a strong tree, deeply rooted and capable of withstanding storms. If we try to avoid hardship, we miss the opportunity to grow deep roots, to build strength, and to prepare for the future. Every challenge, every setback, and every difficult moment is not a sign of failure, but an opportunity for growth. The discomfort we feel today is shaping us into the person we are meant to become. Instead of resisting adversity, we must embrace it, knowing that on the other side of struggle is a stronger, wiser, and more capable version of ourselves. Pressure can either be a stepping stone or a stumbling block. And what makes the difference is where we choose to place our focus. When we face challenges, it's easy to get frustrated, overwhelmed, and even discouraged. The weight of expectations, deadlines, and responsibilities can feel crushing, making it seem like there's no way forward. But the key to making progress under pressure is not to let frustration take control. Instead, we must train ourselves to stay focused on the bigger picture, on the solutions rather than the struggles, and on the growth that is happening even in difficult moments. Imagine a student preparing for a major exam. If they focus on how difficult the material is, how much time they don't have, or how stressful the situation feels, frustration will set in. That frustration can lead to procrastination, anxiety, and even giving up. But if they shift their focus to what they can control, studying one topic at a time, practicing consistently, and managing their time wisely, they will make real progress. The pressure doesn't disappear, but by staying focused instead of frustrated, they turn that pressure into motivation rather than a burden. Athletes understand this principle well. When training for a competition, they face intense physical and mental challenges. If they focus on how tired they feel or how much further they have to go, frustration will make them want to quit. But the most successful athletes train themselves to focus on their goal, on the next step, on the progress they are making, rather than the pain they are feeling. This mindset is what separates champions from those who fall short. It's not that they don't feel the pressure, it's that they refuse to let it control them. One of the greatest examples of this is Thomas Edison. While inventing the light bulb, he encountered failure after failure. If he had focused on the frustration of failing thousands of times, he might have quit long before he succeeded. But instead of getting frustrated, he stayed focused. He treated every setback as a lesson, every failure as a step toward success. That focus is what eventually led to one of the greatest inventions in history. The same applies to our personal lives. There are times when we face difficulties in our careers, relationships, or personal growth. If we allow frustration to take over, we can become stuck, dwelling on what's wrong rather than working toward what's right. But when we choose to stay focused on solutions, on lessons, and on the opportunities hidden in challenges, we find new paths forward. Pressure is not the enemy, distraction and frustration are. The more we focus on the obstacles, the more impossible they seem. But when we focus on growth, on problem solving, and on perseverance, we find that we are capable of much more than we thought. Staying focused rather than frustrated turns pressure into power and challenges into opportunities for success. Pressure is something that everyone experiences at some point in life. Whether it's the pressure of meeting deadlines, performing well in academics, or handling personal responsibilities, it can feel overwhelming. But pressure itself is not the problem. It's how we respond to it that makes all the difference. Some people allow pressure to break them, while others use it as fuel to push themselves further. The truth is, pressure is not meant to stop you. It's meant to propel you forward. Think about a rocket launching into space. The amount of pressure and force it must withstand is incredible. Without that pressure, it would never break through the Earth's atmosphere. The very thing that seems to be working against it is actually what gives it the power to rise. In the same way, the challenges we face are not there to hold us back. They are there to build momentum, to strengthen us, and to prepare us for the next level. Consider a student preparing for an important exam. The stress of studying, the pressure of performing well, and the fear of failure can feel overwhelming. But instead of letting that pressure create anxiety, they can use it as motivation. They can turn that pressure into a driving force that pushes them to study harder, manage their time better, and improve their focus. When they embrace the pressure rather than resist it, they find themselves achieving more than they thought possible. History is full of people who turned pressure into progress. Take Michael Jordan, for example. Early in his basketball career, he was cut from his high school team. The pressure of that failure could have made him quit. Instead, he used it as fuel. He trained harder, practiced longer, and pushed himself beyond what was comfortable. That pressure didn't break him, it made him a legend. Even in nature, we see this principle at work. A seed buried in the soil experiences immense pressure from the earth above it. But instead of remaining stuck, it pushes through the dirt, reaches for the sunlight, and grows into a strong plant. Without that initial pressure, the seed would never sprout. The same is true for us. The struggles we face, the difficulties we endure, and the challenges we overcome are not signs of failure. They are proof that growth is happening. Pressure reveals strength we didn't know we had. It forces us to think creatively, to work harder, and to develop resilience. It teaches us discipline, patience, and determination. The key is to change our mindset. Instead of saying, "This pressure is too much for me," we need to say, "This pressure is pushing me toward greatness." Rather than running from pressure, we should embrace it. When we stop seeing it as a burden and start using it as fuel, we unlock a level of potential we never imagined. Pressure is not meant to break you, it's meant to build you. The more you rise to meet it, the stronger, wiser, and more capable you become. Many times in life, we find ourselves under pressure, facing challenges that seem too big to handle. It could be pressure at school, at work, in our families, or even within ourselves. In those moments, it's easy to feel like giving up, to think that we are alone in our struggles. But what we must remember is that there is a bigger plan at work, something greater than what we can see in the moment. Even when things seem uncertain, when we don't understand why we are facing difficulties, we can trust that we are being prepared for something far beyond what we can imagine. Think about a puzzle. When we look at just one piece, it doesn't make sense on its own. It might seem random, confusing, or even unnecessary. But when all the pieces come together, we see the full picture. The struggles we face are like those individual puzzle pieces. On their own, they may not make sense, but when we step back and trust that they are part of a greater plan, we realize that nothing is wasted, not even the pressure we go through. Every challenge, every setback, every difficult moment is shaping us for something bigger. Look at the story of Joseph in the Bible. As a young man, he had big dreams, but he was betrayed by his own brothers, sold into slavery, and thrown into prison for something he didn't even do. If he had only looked at those difficult moments, he might have thought, "Why is this happening to me? Where is God in all of this?" But what Joseph didn't see at the time was that every challenge was leading him toward his destiny. Through those hardships, he developed wisdom, leadership, and resilience. In the end, he rose to a position of great power, saving an entire nation from famine. What seemed like setbacks were actually setups for something greater. In our own lives, we may not always understand why things happen the way they do. We may feel pressure from responsibilities, disappointments, or unexpected struggles. But just because we don't see the full picture yet doesn't mean there isn't one. The difficulties we face are not random. They are part of our growth. They are preparing us for the future, strengthening us for greater opportunities, and teaching us lessons that will help us in ways we can't yet see. When we face pressure, we can either let it break us or trust that it is shaping us. The key is to shift our perspective. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" we can start asking, "What is this preparing me for?" Instead of feeling discouraged, we can choose to believe that something greater is ahead. The challenges we face today are not the end of the story. They are just part of the journey. And when we trust the process, we will see that every struggle, every pressure, and every hardship was leading us towards something greater all along. Pressure is not something to fear. It is something to embrace. Just like diamonds are formed under intense pressure, our greatest strengths, wisdom, and abilities are developed through life's challenges. Every moment of struggle is an opportunity for growth. Every setback is a setup for a comeback. And every obstacle is shaping us into the person we are meant to be. When we face pressure, we have a choice. We can let it break us, or we can let it build us. We can give in to fear, or we can stand in faith. We can focus on frustration, or we can focus on solutions. The key to success in any area of life, whether in education, career, relationships, or personal growth, is learning to thrive under pressure, not just survive it. History is filled with stories of people who turned pressure into progress, who refused to let difficulties define them, but instead allowed them to refine them. Whether it was Thomas Edison failing thousands of times before inventing the light bulb, Michael Jordan using rejection as motivation, or Joseph turning betrayal into a greater destiny, one thing remains true. Pressure is not the end of the story, it is the beginning of something greater. So when life gets tough, when the weight of expectations feels heavy, when obstacles seem too big to overcome, remember this. You are being strengthened. You are being prepared. You are being shaped into someone greater than you ever imagined. Don't run from the pressure. Rise under it. Because on the other side of that challenge is a stronger, wiser, and more powerful version of you. Keep going, keep believing, and trust that the best is yet to come.